All right, so that cut me off. So here's part two as we continue on. Um, Basically, we see new methods for achieving political changes. American Civil War is kind of an anomaly because it's still a war. That doesn't mean you're out of class. Stay put. Please listen, class. Don't put your things away. So then we move on to the social question and new government functions. So we're developing new ways. Instead of having a king get beheaded or having a war, we start seeing the government becoming more part of everyday life, which also means people feel like they have more of a either connection to it or more of a disconnect from it. So I've already mentioned in class, school is compulsive at this point. We start seeing something called welfare, which is where social welfare, where the government is providing programs to help people that have accidents, help people that are sick, help people in old age. And this is a big development because before in the industrial system, if you got your hand chopped off at work, well, they would fire you because you couldn't do your job, and then you're kind of out of luck. You become homeless, you die hungry in the streets. So we start seeing society recognizing that that's a problem, that we shouldn't be cold and just motivated by production and money. So the government starts having there's more taxation, and it has more contact and more input in our lives than people's lives than ever before. So of course this means politics change. People start coming up with political parties and political ideas to either say, hey, there's too much intrusion, or hey, we need more. A big idea, we saw this throughout all the 20th century, was this guy's theories. He wrote the Communist Manifesto. So the Cold War, the whole thing that we talked about for the 20th century, where the Soviet Union, communist, versus the United States, because of his ideas that he said capitalism is natural because it's competition, and we work, and then we learn how to cooperate and start sharing, and then after that is when we don't have any classes anymore, and we have this classless society, and that's communism. And his theories were aimed at trying to achieve that, and that's what the Soviet Union showed doesn't work very well. And then this is also where we see the beginnings of the feminist movements that are saying, okay, so all men are created equal. Can we get some women included in that? Maybe if we're expected to be contributing productive members of society, maybe we could also have the vote. So these ideas are getting their start before 1900. All right, so then next we see some cultural changes. On the Persian chart, this would be like the S and the I and the A. But what we see is there's something called mass leisure culture. The idea that you have Saturday and Sunday off from work starts here. The idea that we take a vacation, you save up your money and go on a trip, that starts here. Newspapers, entertainment, popular entertainment, things like that. Pretty much anything that you use in your own life to distract yourself from things you have to do, which at this point is school, later on will be work, anything like that starts in this time period. Mass consumption. We have more products available than ever before in history, and more money to be able to spend on things that really aren't vital. Team sports. Any of you that are involved in any kind of athletics or extracurricular activity, this is where it starts. Then we also see science changes. I'll mention one of the names down there on some terms, but Charles Darwin's idea about biology that turned into Darwinism and the theory of evolution that we also saw applied to social Darwinism. We already saw that in imperialism. So his ideas that nature has this evolutionary path started. He does his work, his biological work here. Einstein comes up with relativity, which is fascinating, but there's no way I can talk about it on a 10-minute video. And Sigmund Freud starts saying maybe our subconscious mind is the reason we do this. So they're investigating not just how can we more enjoy life, or how can we, like way up there, how can we have a better government, but also science. How can we understand the planet better? Then we have some new artistic expression, something called Romanticism, which is a reaction to the industry, the stark steel, smoke, smog, fire, burn, melt industry. Romanticism says that we should focus on our emotions, and in fact, the book on which the terrible movie was made, Frankenstein, about Dr. Frankenstein, who uses science to create life, and it's this monster. And if you've ever read the book, it's a very romantic type book. Romantic in the sense that the monster stops in the middle of the forest at one point and just stares at leaves and stuff and contemplates existence. So he's not really a monster. It was trying to show, look how far we've abandoned ourselves. We've become like machines, and we're abandoning our humanity. So it's very interesting stuff. Then Western settler societies. What this means is um, the West needs land. The West needs resources. What do we call that? Imperialism. We've already seen that. So this is where the West begins leading the world economy. They're already having the productive capacity. They're already making the things that they need. And now they need markets to be able to sell the stuff they're making, and they need more materials, raw materials, to be able to produce the things that they need. Then the United States. This is really where we start to become a global power. The Civil War was the first modern war, and that's something that we haven't talked about. The World War I was the first with such mass casualties like that because of machine guns and tanks and poison gas and airplanes. But the Civil War was really the first industrial war, the first modern war, because we used mass production, um, like assembly line production stuff. So we became a major competitor in the world. By 1900, we are emerging as that great power that then we're able to participate in World War One. So then, not a whole lot of important stuff in the key concepts here. You do need to know about the settler societies, non-settler societies that we already saw in imperialism, like with Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. So read through this and try to summarize on your own. Basically, they're becoming autonomous, but they're still part of the British Commonwealth throughout this time period. And then this is a really good question: should the United States be regarded as a separate civilization? Read this. This is a separate document in your textbook, but it's really really interesting. I would strongly recommend that you look through it. Then diplomatic tensions. We start seeing a balance of power. People competing for um, influence and territory, colonies, with a new country now called Germany. Um, Europe is kind of in a little bit of a weird spot. And so we see a lot of rivalries developing, and those rivalries result in this new alliance system. This should look familiar to you. We've seen what happens with this alliance system. The Triple Alliance, Britain, Russia, and France. I'm sorry, Triple Alliance, Austria, Germany, and Italy, and then the Britain, Russia, and France as the Triple Entente. They're building up militarism. They have, we saw nationalism already. Imperialism is pushing to the edge. So mania that gets into World War One is on its way. So these last two little bits, the West is working on trying to um, capitalize on its new strength. The West is trying to exert its own control, and it kind of, as this says, it goes out of control. It has new ways of killing people en masse. It has new ways of conquering people. So it's just a very interesting time period, and this is why this chapter is so important. Is this sets the stage for all the rest of the stuff to come after 1750. Now, some important terms. You don't have to use all these terms. All the ones that are highlighted are important. So just pause as you need. Don't write word for word. That doesn't do you any good. Put it into your own words. Proto-industrialization would be like pre-industrialization. Something else you'll see in class is something called cottage industries, which goes along with industrialization. Declaration of the Rights of Man and Citizen. So I'm just going to not even talk about this. Just pause as you need. And yeah, it's still going. I'm just letting you pause it. This guy is important. James Watt. You'll see him again. The factory system should hopefully make sense. Luddites, that's people who were mad at machines, so they started breaking them. They smashed machines because the machines took our jobs. I was thinking South Park like that. The Luddites would have been saying, machines are taking our jobs. So important. He's very, very important. If you ever look at a gallon of milk, and you will see the influence that Louis Pasteur has had on the world. Oops. There you go. We've already seen von Bismarck up there a little further. Saw him. Saw that. There we go. And that's it. I hope that you all benefited from this, and I hope you put it to good use.